Hi, my name is Alyssa, and I like to watch movies. Folks, it has been a weird last few weeks for the movies. I haven't been personally loving the new releases in theaters, plus the Oscars has taken up a lot of conversations that we've been having recently.
And thank you to Emilia.
Even so, I have been a very good girl. I've been listening to the wise words of Papa Sean Baker and have been supporting films like Anora and The Monkey and pretty much anything released by Neon or A24 by going to the movie theaters. But last week, you know those times in life where like everything just really gets thrown at you in 1 week and you go, okay, yeah, sure, love this. And so I decided to not go to the movie theaters last week. I know, tragic. Instead, I decided to look through my comments and see what movies you guys recommended me check out. And Sad Boy Inc. recommended an absolute all-timer. Written and directed by Anna Weiler, The Love Witch is an intoxicating blend of horror, sexual thriller, and Technicolor magic. Even though it was made in 2016, it looks like it stepped straight out of the 1960s. And that is literally so impressive. The movie pays homage to the B-movies of the Silver Age of cinema, which is like a really rough time, and like fully embraces one essential element that they all share: the male gaze. Released at the height of the Me Too movement, The Love Witch dissects the male gaze, exposing how it twists and mutilates women by forcing them to fit these very generic, stereotypical gender roles that were reinforced and established mostly by like white cis hetero men. And the titular Love Witch herself is literally a mirror that like reflects these ideas back onto the perpetrator. It's almost like it's not fair to have expectations of what your gender role should be. And like, make no mistake, the Love Witch is totally the villain of this movie, but like, she isn't humanized by her villainy. Is she a bad person? Oh my god, yes. She's not a girl's girl. She's what we would call a bad feminist. What makes her so terrifying, especially to men, is the sheer control she has over her emotions, over her autonomy. I mean, even over like the visual style of this film. Everything is presented in her perspective in a very unapologetic and very like unshameful way. This is essentially the female gaze in action. It is both a critique to the male gaze and a refusal to accommodate to male audiences. And it's been like nearly a decade since this movie's been released, and guys, I hate to say it, but I think it's still relevant. I don't know, women have less rights now than they had in 2015, so like, and I also just want to say like that, like, yes, men suffer under the patriarchy, but like they also need to make the conscious effort to like not feed into the bullshit that like the patriarchy like continually spews out. Like, what are traditional values when you have 14 children? What are they gonna do? Work on a farm? That's child labor. We have laws against that. Well, for now. Films like The Love Witch are like essential in times like these, especially when like people like Andrew Tate are back in the States and like making content that young men gobble up like turkeys. And it's pushing us towards these like shameful notions of sexuality, both for men and women, where we just like are holding these unrealistic standards of what we're supposed to be. But don't worry, this is not a video essay talking about the female gaze. Instead, this is like a movie recap that talks about the female gaze through the female gaze, for the females and the gays. And some of you men, though I know you are not the majority of my audience. So let's get into it. We open with Elaine Parks, played by Samantha Robinson, as she drives up the PCH in her beautiful red convertible. She is ready to start her new life because, girls, she's single. Because her husband Jerry did just die. But she is single and ready to mingle in the town where all the boys are, Arcata, California. And guys, she's renting this beautiful, beautiful purple and black Victorian house. Oh, she's renting the house from her mentor Barbara, and there has been some interior design done by a lovely lady named Trish. And I have one problem with Trish, and that is that she breaks the illusion of this being like a truly vintage movie by pulling up in her Honda Civic. But that's okay, because Elaine is selling us the full fantasy. Not only is she rocking these like black polyester like extensions, but she has some vintage pieces, blue eyeshadow, full lashes that are just like, whoa, couldn't be me, but I love this for you. It's giving Priscilla, and we all know how healthy that relationship with that 14-year-old was. Elaine is loving this new place. She's like, yes, now I have a place to live, let's establish a source of income, and then also find myself a husband. Trish invites Elaine out for tea, and girls, I love the idea of a tea room. I love the idea of afternoon tea with the girls. Ooh, while a harpist plays. Ooh, this is a fantasy I want to live. If this is what it means to be a witch, maybe I'm in. And during this conversation, Elaine explains to Trish, she's like, I am a witch. In particular, I am a love witch. And that's exactly why I need to fall in love. Without love, I am nothing. And Trish is like, love that for you. Can't relate. I have a husband named Richard. He looks like a crow. But she's a girl's girl. And she's like, oh, Elaine, what are you looking for in a man? Maybe I can help. And Elaine is like, oh, I want the most patriarchal version of a man that ever exists. I'm talking about emotionally suppressed. I'm talking about super controlling. And I'm talking completely devaluing femininity completely. So basically, she's looking for Dean from Gilmore Girls. Every time I think about Dean, I want to punch somebody. I particularly think about that episode where Rory dresses up like she is a stay-at-home wife for Dean, like she's from the 1950s, and he's like, yeah, actually this is exactly what I want. And then if you want to really talk about it, he gets exactly what he wants in the later seasons, and he's like, no, I don't want this. And like throws his whole life away. Like, Dean, I'm gonna find him behind Dosey's Market. You guys can be there at 4 o'clock. Bring an ambulance for one of us. And the problem is that Miss Elaine exudes confidence, so she is never gonna find a Dean because he is so deeply insecure, which is why he upheld like these patriarchal ideas of gender roles. And when I mean like Elaine exudes confidence, it's like she is out here in these beautiful dresses and this beautiful like blocky eyeshadow, and like she has so much control that like the way we're perceiving this world is through her lens, which is very much 1960s. Speaking of the film's look, let's talk about it because it is impeccable. Shot by cinematographer David Mullen, The Love Witch is shot on 16mm in a style of Technicolor. R.I.P. Technicolor. You will actually forever be missed. Using a hard light style that was like modeled after the 1950s and 1960s colored films, the visual language of this film really emphasizes all of the design, the costumes, even the editing, the writing, and directing, all done by the spectacular Ann Byler. Hey guys, so it's editing me. I have found out through some friends that the director behind The Love Witch is a bit of a TERF. We love it. And doing some more research into it, she's very not for like trans rights or trans people and believes heavily in like the satanic panic. And everything that she put into this movie turns out to be like not satirical. It like in some way reflects her like femininity and her view on feminism. I don't stand with that. And I think I kind of make that clear throughout this commentary. But yeah, guys, she's a bad person, so fuck that shit. And like this movie is like a masterclass in how you create a vintage looking movie. Like actually put in the work to like know the specs, know the techniques, like and really just like take time to understand like the structure of these movies and how to emulate them for a modern audience. That is cinema. So how does a woman on the hunt for a particularly perfectly masculine man find one to call her own and fall in love? Is there like a spell that we can use for this to all work? Oh, there is? Well, perfect. The next day, Elaine is like, I need a source of income. Let's go sell some soap, girls. And she does. Literally source of income, check. Life is not that hard for her. Like, she's really like shattering the glass ceiling for the witches. Now that she has her new life established, Elaine can get married. So who is it gonna be? She walks into a park to see what I think is like literally the only man in this town. And she's like, okay, he's gonna fall in love with me. And immediately Wayne looks at her and he goes, you, chef's kiss, afternoon delight, what's up, what's going on, what do you want to talk about, anything just to have your attention? Well, yes. And either because she's a witch or just because she can read people really well, Elaine knows everything there is to know about Wayne. All you need to know about this man is that he is shallow deep. Like, he probably jacks off to lyrics by Leonard Cohen. You know how badly I want to see Sabrina Carpenter, but like $400 a ticket each for like behind the screen tickets? I'm so excited for that antitrust lawsuit. Like, ugh, that's gonna be my Super Bowl. Elaine and Wayne are chatting and she's like, I want to make you dinner. And she's like really hamming up this archetype of like the stay-at-home wife. And guys, would you believe it? But Wayne loves it. He's like, yeah, that's my dream girl. Maybe he could be the one. Not for me. I definitely hope not for you either. Please have standards. Unless this is like what you're into and you're like just fucking around, then like go for it. We all have our impractical types. Once they pull up to the cabin, Wayne is trying to get all frisky with Elaine and she's like, wait a minute, I need you to drink this mysterious liquid in this metal flask first. And without thinking or without a single question, Wayne drinks it. What's it like to be a man? Have no fear. Please tell me. Guys, would you believe it that it probably was not alcohol in that flask? Because during dinner, Wayne is feeling a bit woozy. He's like, what was in that drink? And Elaine's like, oh, you know, just some herbs, some hallucinogenics. And you want to know the crazy part? Wayne is into it. Yes, girl, drug me. Now that Wayne can't consent, Elaine starts undressing, and guys, she takes off her little black jacket, and it's lined with the rainbow. Gay. No, Wayne is not homophobic, but he is like my eyes. I can't see color. He probably would say that, honestly. But he embraces the pain, and Elaine's like, good job, you are a man. Let's have sex. After they have great sex, Wayne starts crying, which is like totally fine. I get it. Sometimes it's just too good. But then he gets like really clingy and gets really insecure anytime like Elaine isn't looking at him. And I hate to say it, but it's not very manly, Wayne. How dare a man show his feelings? After reading her travel tarot cards, Elaine is like, maybe Wayne isn't the one. And so she chokes him out. The next morning, Elaine goes to wake up Wayne to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't see each other ever again. And guys, he's dead. Womp womp. Let's pour one out for Wayne. Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean Elaine is pissing in a cup and putting a used tampon into it? Okay. Just one question. Why? Anyone? Does anybody have an answer? Well, maybe the movie will tell us why. Let's see. Later that day, Elaine and Trish are having some tea at her apartment, and Trish is like, I'm gonna miss you. I hope Robert doesn't get lonely while I'm in Dallas, the magical land of the cowboys and minnow shots. Elaine is like, oh, Richard's gonna be by himself? Interesting. Elaine, no, honey. No. Later at the town's local burlesque club, the town folks are in a tizzy because a man was pulled out of the river with a pentagram carved into his chest. Immediately, they're like, it's them damn witches. And guys, I think they're a little too eager about blaming the witches. But Elaine and her witch friends are unbothered by this. In fact, they're just yapping about what happened in San Francisco. We get to learn more about Jerry's death, and it turns out that the cops thought Elaine murdered him. And Elaine was like, no, why would they think that? Anyways, it got to be too much, so I just fled the city. You know, guilty people don't run away. I've always said that. Elaine also talks to Barbara and the fellow wizard at their table that like her love spells haven't been working quite as she intends them to. The local wizard tells Elaine that the only way that these love spells are actually gonna work the way she intends them to is by using her feminine sexuality to seduce a man into loving her, and then he's gonna love her so much that she can then convince him to see her as a human being. Now, don't piss me off. While the witches and the wizards here are like inherently feminist, not all feminism is created equally. Look, I support women choosing to sexualize their femininity or dismiss it if they want to. It's whatever makes you happy. It's your body. It's your life. Live la vida loca. My problem with this approach, though, is that like we're infantilizing men by encouraging their thoughts and actions without letting them take accountability for it. And this feeds the beast that is patriarchy. And what I don't love about the witches in The Love Witch is that they suggest that we could dismantle an oppressive system by leaning into it, hoping that we can make men see women as human beings by playing into the very fears that fuel misogyny. It's like telling my dog that she can only get a treat when she's a good girl, which she is. And then rewarding her after she raids my bathroom trash can. Like it's just reinforcing bad behavior rather than changing it. And yet Elaine is leaning into this idea because it's the only way she's ever like received love and attention and likely safety in her life. And so like I can't dismiss her intentions. She is both like a symptom and a participant in the very system that oppresses her. But anyways, I'm gonna step off my tiny little soapbox because guys, would you believe it? Elaine has found lucky bachelor number 2. But before that, let's meet the second most important character of this movie, a man named Griff. Griff is a walking talking Ken doll who is also a police officer. He's giving Marble Man to the max. But guys, this is not a time to look cool. There is another cool dude missing. Griff goes to look for Wayne and his buddy cop is with him and they find some rotting food, a piss jar, and a shallow grave. And guys, I hate to tell you, but I think Wayne is in that shallow grave. So now that Wayne has been found, let's go meet bachelor number 2. And guys, it's Richard. Elaine, no. They're having dinner together and Elaine asks what turns Richard on. Well, no one's ever asked him this before. I wonder what he's gonna say. Flying. Flying is what turns Richard on. He says it's because it feels dangerous. And he's just not a dangerous man. He's never done anything dangerous before. Oh, if only he's done something dangerous like, I don't know, cheat on his wife. Elaine is like okay, I might not be a plane, but I know how to land this damn thing, and starts giving the striptease of her life. And would you believe it? Richard falls hook, line, and sinker for this affair. Back with Griff, he is super interested in this piss jar. He goes to a witch specialist to figure out where this piss jar might come from, and guess what the witch specialist says? He goes, yep, a witch made that. Cool. Thanks. Griff then goes to the local witch store to find out if they know anything about the piss jar. And the woman working there is like, no, we don't sell piss jars, but we sell something similar made by this woman named Elaine Parks. Connections. Sometime later down the road, Elaine is meeting up with Barbara and tells her that she ended things with Richard because he just became too mushy and had so many feelings and didn't want to have sex anymore. Like, what are men good for if they don't want to have sex? And the worst part, guys, he was a Pisces. And Richard is not taking the breakup well. He is crying uncontrollably around Trish, he's drinking heavily, and he is rereading the breakup notes. I really don't feel bad for a man who cheated on his wife. So, like, sorry. Back at her apartment, Elaine is being a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, when she hears a knock at the door. She opens the door, and it's Griff. And he's like, hey, I have some questions about the death of a man named Wayne. You know him? Elaine is like, no. Get out of my house. Don't worry, he's also here to ask her about the piss jar. You thought we saw the last of the piss jar.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But Elaine is like, okay, and what if it is mine? I have other things going on. I have a life. I have a hobby. I have a career. I am a woman. Let me get back to my witchcraft. And Griff is like, okay, so you are a witch, which means you're evil. And she's like, no, this is my religion. This is my life. How dare you make it all look black and white? It has texture. It has color. There are grays. But then she stops and she's like, why am I feeling like there's a little bit of fate between us? Guys, she casts like a love spell situation on him and they are smitten together. And would you believe that Griff is into her despite her being a murder suspect? She asks if he's liked animals because that's like a big thing for her, and he's like, well, I am a bit of a horse girl. So they go off riding horses and they're just kissing and loving on each other. And then there's a Ren fair going on. It's very random, but you know what? Cool, because the vibes are immaculate. They're celebrating the summer solstice, and the folks at the fair want to mock Mary Elaine and Griff. And girl, she's so into it. But I'm like, guys, you've known each other for maybe 4 hours. Like, this is a lot. As they're getting married, Griff reveals in a voiceover that he is not in love with Elaine. In fact, love is what makes a man soft. Real men aren't soft. He's a real tough boy. He can't love her. The problem here is that Elaine is really in love with him, so it seems like the tables are a bit reversed.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
But something has changed within Griff. Something is not the same. He's ready to like put the case to rest. He's like, case closed, it wasn't the witches. But his partner is like, hey, I think it might have been your new girlfriend because I think she also killed this other dude in San Francisco. And like, he's putting the pieces together, but Griff is like, no, it can't be. But his partner is like, is everyone taking crazy pills or are you just in love? And so you know what Griff does because he's not a soft man in love? He punches his partner in the face. He goes, love is for the weak. And don't you forget it. There's so much aggression in the air. Let's go check in with Richard. Oh, he unalives himself? Oh, wow. Okay, well, R.I.P., I guess. Jesus. Trish is the one who finds Richard, and she is really going through it. She is in her morning clothes talking to Elaine in, like, the most brightly pink tea room there ever was to be. Like, I don't think this is the place for her to be at right now. And she feels like she is the root of Richard's death. She's like, I couldn't be the woman he always fantasized and wanted, and therefore he had an affair, and whatever that situation was led him to do what he did. Elaine is like, ooh, yeah, that's tough. Well, guess what? I might be getting engaged soon. Ugh. Elaine, time and place. She then tells Trish to try on her fake wedding ring, and then she's like, oh, got a zip. See ya later. And I hate to say it, Elaine, you're a bad friend. Like, on so many levels. Not only did you have an affair with your friend's husband, but you were also the reason he died. And then you're like also not taking the time to like consider or make space for your friend's feelings. Like, are you guys even friends? Like, what are you doing? Because Elaine left without getting her ring back from Trish, Trish is like, oh, I'll go drop off the ring. Not a big deal. I have a key to the apartment. She walks in and she's noticing a lot of crude drawings and some herbs and paintings of women cutting out hearts of men. But the most damning thing that Trish finds is purple lipstick. And it's not even her shade. But she's feeling a little cunty, and so she's like, what if I put on a little bit of blue eyeshadow and some false lashes and this black wig? Okay, Miss Trish, look at you feeling the fantasy. And then she puts on some of Elaine's lingerie. I don't know. I feel weird about that one. But you know what? Trish is feeling great, and I think she deserves this win after like all the shit that she's been through in like the last few weeks. So like, live la vida loca, Trish. But then she sees a photo of Richard on Elaine's fireplace mantle, and she's like, what was that? After like 2 more seconds of digging, Trish finds the love potion that Elaine used on her husband and a photo of Elaine and Richard together. Like, that's some pretty damning evidence just to like keep around. Elaine steps into the room and is like, okay, I've been got. I'm gonna stab this woman to death. With a dagger in hand, she walks towards Trish. Trish turns around and she's like, okay, not today, Satan, and attacks Elaine. This is girl on girl violence. I also want to say that I have a lot of empathy for Elaine in this situation, but I do not have sympathy for her. She is a bad person. She is the villain of the story. She is selfish, she is problematic, she's just not a fantastic friend. Like, she does not care about other women or other people. She just cares about her own wants, and that's not a healthy way to live life. But Elaine doesn't want to live with all these icky feelings that she's having. No. Responsibility for your actions in this economy. So she manifests that Trish dies in a car accident. Literally no joke. It's a whole moment. She's like, die. No, she says crash. She goes, crash. Guess what? She doesn't crash. Instead, Trish goes and talks to Griff about what has happened, and Griff's like, damn, that fucking sucks. He goes down to the local bar to have a drink and listen to the locals yap about like all the witch stuff going on, and he's like, damn, maybe witches are the problem. Elaine arrives to the burlesque bar, and Griff is like, so, that piss bottle? Yeah, turns out your DNA. How did they run that piss DNA test? Did he collect her pee? Griff, are you in a piss play? He's like, so you killed Wayne. I think I'm gonna have to take you to jail. He's also like, Trish says you killed her husband, so like, I'm also gonna have to take you downtown for that one as well. And Elena's like, so I've been a bad girl. What about it? I didn't kill any of these men. They all killed themselves. I only wanted love, and they couldn't take it. Griff tells Elaine that she's always going to be unsatisfied by men because she's never going to get the amount of love that she actually wants. And also tells her that her sexy little baby act doesn't work on him. And so you know what time it is? It's time to take her downtown. Book her, boys. To be fair, Elaine didn't do anything technically wrong. She didn't kill anybody. But maybe her worst crime of all was that she loved too much. But then Griff is like, I never loved you. Oh, and that is not the thing to say to Elaine. And she's like, maybe if you loved us for who we are, instead of the idea of what we could be, I wouldn't be chasing love like I currently am. And the locals overhear this and they're like, wait, did you kill Wayne? Oh shit, I think she killed Wayne. And so they tackle her and they're going to like take her out to burn her, but then they take her to the floor and then the men start trying to assault her. I'm sorry, how did we get here? Griff decides that like, this is not the way things should be handled. This is not the way the law intended things to be dealt with. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna save you, Elaine. We're gonna go back to your apartment and we're gonna talk about this. But guys, Griff isn't having any of this shit. He gives her a hard stare and Elaine can't take it. It's just too much. Elaine remembers all the men who loved her in her past, and it soothes her from the pain of Griff not loving her. And when he leans back in the bed, Elaine takes her dagger and stabs him to death. She looks fondly back on the day when they were married and when everything was perfect, longing for the fairy tale romance that will never be. And we watch her descend into her own blissful madness. The Love Witch. I really enjoyed The Love Witch. I think it's a great movie. I think it has some plot holes. I think it's very jilted in certain ways, definitely in like the delivery of lines and just like in how things are written out. But am I not entertained by the level of campiness that's being presented to me? This film really has an idea of what it wants to be and how it wants to achieve it, and dare I say, it does exactly that. I would say that like this movie is definitely for people who are curious in like feminist cinema or like very curious in like just the preservation of like film history. Like, so if you're like more interested in like the technical aspects of film, definitely check out this because it's really cool. Also, I think Cinematographer Magazine has some really cool interviews with David Mullen on this, so check it out. I fell down like a rabbit hole of the message boards, so I believe that the politics of this movie haven't aged poorly. I would say in the last 10 years, I think they become more relevant than ever, which is really fun. I love it. Like, what's changed? Well, I will say the stiffness of the film kind of devalues the entertainment value of it all for me. It just like has these moments where we're getting expo dumps and I just kind of taken out of it. I'm just like, no, not really what I'm here for, unfortunately, and I just check out, which sucks. But it would be really cool to see this movie projected in a movie theater. I think that's something I would want to be on the lookout for in the future. So if any of you LA folk know of a screening of Love Witch on 16, let a bitch know. But overall, I think I'm gonna give Love Witch a B. I don't think camp movies really get higher than a B+ for me. There's always gonna be something a little wonky about it that I just can't connect to fully, and that's just a personal thing. So like, life. But let me know what you would grade the Love Witch and like what your whole take on this beautiful, crazy, wild looking film is. As always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.